Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Excuse me, Andrew, that doesn't look like a beer.
I'm very sorry, Sam. No, you're exactly right. You're not wrong there. This in my lovely stripy mug is actually tea.
But what are you doing? It's Drewling Samantics. We have a beer. See?
I will say anyway. Don't criticize me. You're drinking a beer and you've come straight from the gym. The sweat hoodie there, looking very, very cool, and
You know me much better than that. This is by no means a post-gym outfit. This is a comfy at-home outfit. That's all this is, I'm afraid.
This is a slob with a lager outfit, is it?
Well, yeah, unfortunately so. But go on then. Why are you defecting from the beer and having
There's a very good reason, and responsible podcasting. I know I would normally be supping at something from a can, but the tea is because I am test driving a few cars. I will be, hopefully, fingers crossed. I've been on the car hunt. I need a new car before winter dawns, or it has dawned already. But yeah. So I'm hunting a new car, a little bit more boot space for touring and heaving stuff around to gigs. So yeah, that's okay. That's my reason.
You are forgiven, sir. That all is okay. So I shall cheers you anyway, but it's a bit of a beer.
I'll toast you there. Toast you with the tea. There we go.
Go on then, mate. Other than your car hunt this week, what have you been up to?
I'm a little bit of a debrief and a breakdown from the pumpkin event.
Oh, of course, yes.
So we had a week's break and we were getting out of had to get out of the venue, sort all that stuff out, sort of post-production meetings, etc. So that was good. That was and making plans and thinking forward to the event next year and what we can do. So it is in the pipeline to happen again next year. I shall have another nervous breakdown with 400, 500, 600 pumpkins appearing again. But and then I did my little bit of filming this week on the short Stranger Danger, written by a great writer. I don't know if anybody knows the writer Jerry Rain, but he writes wonderful what he calls suburban thrillers. And I particularly picked the guy up. I thought I recognized the writer's name, but he writes a lot because people may or may not know. I live in Ealing, but I used to live in Acton, and Jerry Rain sets all his characters and these low-life characters around Acton and Ealing, Shepherd's Bush, Hammersmith. So all the venues in his books I know intimately. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
That's really
so that's been, and I've just got a little bit of prep coming up for. I've been preparing. I said I was going to record it last week, but I should be recording the listing books book list this week. Yes. So that was finalised. So 32. Different blurbs on books to read out and describe. Yeah, but good fun. How about yourself, Sam? Come on, you must have been busy.
Well, so I've had probably a slightly quieter week than yours.
Oh,
by the sound of it. I had a very, very exciting meeting on Monday, which I can't tell you anything about yet. It's something in the pipeline, but hopefully in the near future I'll be able to reveal some exciting details there.
Fingers crossed for that.
Yes, absolutely. Aside from that, I've mainly been preparing because we are fast approaching Panto season. And also, as you know, I'm doing the musical at the same time. So I've got 2 scripts that I'm sort of trying to nail into my head and thinking about various different characters and how I'm going to apply those. And I mean, with Panto, it's basically preparing to spend over a month away from home and how that will work logistically with everything else. So there's quite a lot that's going into it. So I'm doing a lot of prep work there. On top of that, I also had a really entertaining evening at the beginning of the week where I had sort of a networking event where I live. I moved to my flat 3 or 4 years ago, and I don't really know the area that well because doing the job we do, I'm on the road all the time, so I don't spend a lot of time there really. So I did a photo shoot recently at a local studio local to my flat. And they held a networking event this week for local photographers and models and anyone else in the industry to kind of get to know one another, exchange details, and just kind of make some connections. And it was really, really useful because it now means that if I happen to be at my flat for an elongated period of time and I'm looking for something, that I've now got a few contacts that can go, look, I'm around. Do you have anything that you want to shoot? Is there anything coming up that perhaps I can get involved in? So that was really cool. What I wasn't expecting from that was to actually do any modeling, because I thought, well, it's a nice networking event, chat to a few people, hand out my business cards and sort of work out what's going on in the area. So obviously I made an effort. I was dressed up nicely and wanted people to think, oh, look, this guy can present himself. But I wasn't perhaps ready to pose or expecting to be on camera all that much. So maybe my hair wasn't done in a normal style, or my beard wasn't quite as trimmed as it might usually be. But lo and behold, yes. Oh, we've got some new equipment here that we're looking at, and we just wanted to show off some of it. Do you mind getting in front of the camera, Sam? Oh, bloody hell. Go on. Yeah, all right then. So I ended up having a few photos, and actually I have to say some of the photographers there were incredible. So got some really, really amazing shots that I wasn't expecting to get. But as said, yeah, perhaps I wasn't quite prepared as I might have been.
Well, it's not like you, Sam. I mean, you're usually pristinely turned out. I mean, maybe not today. I mean, you're chilling a little bit, weak. No, I don't mean it. But it is kind of important to sort of always, keep well groomed and that. And we've had this discussion in the past, like keeping up and keeping fit and keeping well groomed. But it does that presentation and looking good, and it does kind of segue nicely.
Oh, he's got one.
I got one into our very, very special guest who will be joining us shortly today.
Yes, indeed.
Are you going to say any? I was going to pass that over to you there. The ball was gently, handed off to Mr. Dunning.
Well, yeah. So we are being joined today by an incredibly talented young lady who, I suppose, works in a part of the industry that is, I was going to say overlooked. I don't think overlooked is the right word, but certainly underappreciated maybe, or I think you mentioned it before with another role, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but where essentially if she does her job right, or if she does her job really well, you won't notice that she's done it. Is probably the best way of looking at it. Which sounds incredibly cryptic, but I've got a solution to explain what exactly we're talking about, because she is here, Drew. So we shall now let her in. Here we go. Hello, good morning, welcome. The amazing Rebecca Grace is joining us, makeup artist, hairstylist, wig extraordinaire. Welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Welcome.
Me.
It's lovely to see you. This is my partner in crime, Drew. This is the lovely Becky.
Good morning, Becky.
And I guess the best way to start, really, rather than me trying to cobble something together, Becky, just explain for everyone at home exactly what you do and what your position in the industry is.
Okay, so I am a makeup artist, wig stylist, and a beautician. So I've got quite a lot of jobs that I've done in the past, and I'm actually now teaching in the industry. Amazing.
And I think it's fair to say that your work has kind of taken you to all corners of the earth. I mean, all areas of the industry and all kind of different levels and entertaining elements. But I suppose the best way to start actually is to talk about how you got involved in what you do. So what started you out in the world of makeup and wigs and hair?
So I've always been quite creative, and I knew that from the very start that I'd be in the creative industry. Just wasn't quite sure exactly where I would be to start with. I actually studied at a local college and became a beauty therapist after, about 2.5 years of training, which then led me into the beauty industry, where I was working in salons and spas and different places like that. It was only when I was at college that I was told that there was actually a course that involved makeup and hair design for music, television and film, and this was at Southampton Solent University. So I applied for a position there, and I was lucky enough to get one. which then led me into going into university, where I studied makeup and hair design for music, television and film, in which I completed the course and graduated. And then it was from then that my sort of first steps within the industry began, really.
And from there, I mean, we know that you are enormously in demand. You only have to go on your website and go, when does she ever get a chance to breathe? But I mean, you apart from that, you run your own company as well. I mean, you are Rebecca Grace, the brand. We'll put that out there for you. I mean, you were even, your hard work was even recognised by the Prince's Trust. I mean, that must have been so rewarding. And has that given you a boost? Is that recognition?
Absolutely, and I can't recommend the charity enough. When I first began working, certainly in the makeup industry, it was a friend of mine that recommended the fact that they support local people who are looking to become entrepreneurs. And I think you had to be under the age of 30. And I attended a week-long course with them, in which they would help you with business plans, business ideas, and there was a potential at the end, if your business plan was to the standard that they expected, they would actually give you some money and some help into opening and setting up your own business. So I was really fortunate, actually, that I managed to impress. It's a little bit, the way that I would describe that particular experience is very much Dragon's Den. So you sort of arrive, there's people sat around a table, and you're thinking, I just hope that you guys can see what I can see. And thankfully, they all jumped on board, and I was really, really lucky that they actually supported my business. I was given a business mentor it was supposed to be for a year, but I hung on to him for about 3. And yeah, it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it's such a good charity, because it is charity work that they do. The money that they use is all charity money that's been raised. And even my business mentor was he was actually a retired plumber, but they're all volunteers. So they actually spend their time, free of charge, to help and assist young people that are looking to perhaps create a business or start off on their own. So yeah, it was really, 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 really good, and a massive step in the right direction for my career.
Oh, brilliant stuff. And you're involved in coaching and mentoring yourself, aren't you? You've carried on sort of putting back, as we might say.
Absolutely. And I think everybody in this industry should do exactly the same, to be honest with you, because, we sort of get to a point where we've learned so many different things. We've worked in lots of different industries or parts of the industry. And it's good to be able to give that back to people that are just starting off, because sometimes you do feel like you're a little bit lost, and whether you don't really know whether you're on the right track or, heading in the right direction. So to be able to tell other people, hang on in there and it will happen, is really important. I wish somebody had done the same for me.
Yeah.
I guess there's it's testament to how hard you've worked to the level you're at now. Can you give, for all the listeners and watchers, just a brief overview of some of the incredible companies you work with, some of the opportunities that you've got, and sort of some of the areas that you've branched out into within the industry?
Okay, so when I first started, I would say, my adventure into the industry, I was lucky enough to actually begin my first ever job working as a wig stylist, was for Merlin Entertainment. And for people that don't know who Merlin are, they own sort of Legoland in Windsor, they own Thorpe Park, all the sort of the big attractions, London Dungeons. There's lots and lots of places that come within Merlin. I was lucky enough to work for Legoland. That was my first job. And I was assisting them as a wig stylist for some of their live shows that they have on in the park. Finishing that, because obviously when you're working in sort of like a theme park, they quite often, it's just seasonal work. So I finished there, and I managed to then get onto a touring show, which was called Thoroughly Modern Millie, which is a 1920 show. And it was my first show touring around the UK, and actually, going from one place to another and touring with a show, which was completely out of my comfort zone, but now I could do it stood on my head. So yeah, that was absolutely brilliant. I then went on to work in I went to go and work in London. I was working in some shows in Angel, in sort of North London. And some of these were plays and small productions. And again, because they're small productions, they're only on for maybe sort of 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, maybe 12, and then that's it, it's done. And thankfully at that particular time they were actually looking for somebody at the Palace Theatre in the West End, which holds Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And I just knew that I just needed to be involved in this completely.
Drew knows it's my Harry Potter is one of my dream roles, theatrical roles. Like, just so it's so jealous that you were involved. It's such an incredible show. It's so
good. I mean, I have to be totally honest, and I don't want to offend anybody now. It was slightly wasted on me. When I sort of got there, I thought, well, I've never read any of the books. I've watched a couple of the films, but I couldn't remember how many there was. So I was thinking, have I watched all of them? I'm not sure. And then they're saying to me, this character's this person, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, okay, I have no idea who that is, but that's fine. And quite often in shows, that's how you begin anyway. You don't necessarily need to know the ins and outs of how what the plot is or anything. You just need to know this is where you've got to be on the side of the stage, and this is what you've got to do. So anyway, I worked with Harry Potter for a few months, absolutely loved it. Obviously I was actually commuting from Southampton to London's West End for that show, and there's not a lot of shows to be honest with you that I would do that commute for. I absolutely loved it. So I worked for them for a short while, and then I was offered another tour, and I thought, while I'm at the age that I was at the time, I needed to go off and just do a bit of everything. So I was offered a tour called Nativity. Obviously this was like a Christmas sort of based tour. So we were touring all around the country. We had different sort of celebrity personalities, if you like, who came with us, and they swapped and changed throughout the show. So it was quite fun and quite exciting. So there was always somebody new that you'd be working with every week. And I absolutely loved it because we had children within the show as well. And it was quite a lot of children that are part of the Nativity show. And that was really, really good fun, because they always say you should never work with animals or children. So I was like, let's give this a go. This will be fun. They were absolutely brilliant. And all of them, I think we know in this industry that those types of kids, they're different. They are so different. They've just got this little bit of like stardom in them already, and they're just little divas. Loved it. So I worked on that show for a little while, and again, unfortunately, that came to an end. And I was just scrolling through jobs. I wasn't particularly looking at that point, and I found a job that said Disney, and I thought, I had no idea what it was going to be about. I didn't for 1 minute think that it was actually Disney. I thought it was just a bit of a joke, to be honest. And when I eventually found it, I applied for the position thinking I wouldn't hear anything back. And then I did. I had a response to say they were interested. It was quite a lengthy process. I think I had about 5 interviews. They want to know everything about you. Obviously, they were interviewing me from America. So I was having interviews at like 7 o'clock in the evening. It was all like all over the place. And because it was for Disney Cruise Line, you actually have to sort of wait for your position to become available. So you're almost waiting for the person that's doing your job at the moment to then have their leave for you to then jump in, basically. So I was sort of waiting around for, it was quite a long time. It was almost over a year, actually. And I sort of had that in the background. But to be honest, it got to a point where I thought, I think they might have forgotten about me. And then out of nowhere, on Christmas Eve of, I think it was it would have been 2019, on Christmas Eve, they messaged me saying, these are your flights, these are the details, we'll see you in like less than 3 weeks. I was actually working in a spa at the time. I had to write my letter of resignation there and then on Christmas Eve and hand it to my boss, who said, if you don't go, I'm going. So she was very, very supportive. And off I went. And that was the beginning of 2020, which was very interesting. So I flew straight out there. I worked within the parks. We did lots and lots of training before I actually went onto the Disney Cruise Line ship itself. And it was just an absolutely amazing experience. I was assisting in both wigs and makeup. I say assisting, actually. I was the only person on the cruise ship that actually did my job, which they actually call in America cosmetology. So it was a little bit daunting knowing that I had somebody training me, but when they got off at at the next port. That was it. I was on my own, and there was nobody to sort of talk to or do anything. But yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. I had such a good time. Unfortunately, then we started to hear about this little word that was called COVID, and this was at like this was sort of end of March. Was it end of March? And people were sort of saying, "Oh yeah, about this COVID stuff," and I'm going, "Yeah, I've got stuff to do. Speak to you later," and getting on with my day. And then it's people were saying in the canteen area that one of the parks had closed. Now Disney don't close parks for nothing. Okay, and we were like, this is not looking good. And then all of our guests sort of got off the ship on the Saturday, which was normal. That was our port day, and we were expecting our new guests to get on, and nobody got on. And we've been told that actually, you know, what we're going to do is we're going to have a week of just going cruising around, clean everything up. They actually sometimes call these like a ghost cruise, and sometimes these happen if it's during like hurricane season or something, you know, and it's not particularly safe when people don't really want to be on a cruise ship during that time. So we just expected to go out to sea for a week, and then we'd come back and we'd just pick everybody up the following Saturday. And that didn't happen. And you know, that was the end of that, really. The only thing I will say is there was lots of cruise ships that were really struggling during this time. There were times that I would speak to my family during this time, and I was in the safest place in the world. We were being looked after so well. We were being paid. Nobody was, you know, everybody was being paid to be on the ship. Although there was disaster going on all over the world, we were at one point just anchored just outside of Port Canaveral. No COVID on our ship. Nobody was getting on, nobody was getting off, and we were in the safest place in the world. And I'd be communicating with family back home, and they'd be telling me that people are arguing over toilet roll in Tesco's. So I felt quite happy to be where I was, to be honest. But obviously, unfortunately, that all had to come to an end at the beginning of April. And I actually flew back to the UK, and it was a real lull. There was obviously, I was speaking to all my friends within the West End. Everybody had said, you know, we're not working. We don't know how long we're going to be working for. It was awful. And as time went on, I have to be honest, I feel as if this industry was massively forgotten about. I think a lot of people had forgotten about what, you know, every other job was being mentioned all the time. Oh, this job's doing this, and these people can't work, and these people, but nobody ever spoke about performing arts, and nobody spoke about anything like that. And it was quite heartbreaking, really, to see all of my friends, you know, not knowing what was going to happen next, really. I was fortunate enough after we were allowed back out, sort of after lockdown, I managed to get into a teaching position at a local college, which is actually the college that I originally trained at. So I've kind of done full circle. And I just thought, after all the shows that I've worked on, the experiences that I've had, the traveling, and actually knowing that there's more out there for people to potentially work towards, I thought I need to share this information. I need to like sort of give this back to everybody else, because the only reason I found out was because I sort of went from step to step. I never had anybody say, did you know you could do this? Or did you know you could do that? And now when I'm at the college and I'm saying to people, you know, you could be working on cruise ships, and they're thinking, oh, I never knew that, you know, as a makeup artist, I could work on a cruise ship. And I'm like, yeah, and you can do this and you can do that and you can work on that. So now I'm just sort of giving back to everybody and telling everybody what is available. And it's the best time, I think, for me to be speaking to young people about these opportunities, because now that the industry has reopened, certainly my position in particular, there's a lot of jobs out there at the moment, and there's a lot of opportunity. And I'm getting to an age where I'm quite happy to be a little bit more settled. So what I want to do is push them out there instead and kind of live my life through them. So that's my next mission.
Send them off.
That's it.
Send them off. Send them out into the world. I mean, that's just an incredible array and adventure. I mean, there you were. I mean, I just love the idea that the world of Disney was looking after you. You were in a make-believe world when everybody else is out there going, when are we going to get our bog roll from? You know,
I know. Literally,
Mickey has plenty.
we were so lucky. They kept the crew morale was what was most important to them. And you know, there's a lot of areas that when you work on a cruise ship, it's sort of guest only areas. We were in the swimming pools, we were at the crew bar, we were at the posh bar that no one's allowed to go to. No crew members are allowed in there. We were up there every night, you know, and we were just making the most of the experience because, you know, it was such an awful time for so many people. You know, but we had to take advantage of where we were. And there was we had the most amazing captain on our ship as well. And he kept us just outside of Port Canaveral, but within a cellular zone. So we were able to use our mobile phones. We were able to communicate with family. Wi-Fi usually costs money on the ship. That was all free of charge. They wanted people to be, you know, connected with the world at this particular time. And that was so good. And I think we had about 20 plus days where we'd been on the ship and everyone was still having a great time, but they had to stop at certain ports to refuel. And also, although we weren't allowing anybody on and off the ship, cargo still had to be sort of taken around and whatnot to different islands. And Disney actually own an island in the Bahamas called Castaway Cay, which we used to go to on a Saturday with all of our guests. And our captain actually spoke to the Bahamian government and said, look, you know, we've got this crew on board. Is there any way? And during lockdown, when you guys were all in tours, we had a day in the Bahamas and it was amazing. It was so good.
Right, and that's the end of this episode because I'm fed up of you having a good time through COVID.
Yeah,
honestly, like my friends list on social media was just deteriorating day by day. People were like, I don't care what she's doing. I don't want to know anymore.
There's all of us in the supermarkets fighting over the last loaf of bread and you're in a bikini on a beach and shocking behaviour. But
not having it.
You worked bloody hard to get where you were, and as you said, I've actually heard it from other people who have worked for Disney. They are you work hard, you play hard, but they look after you incredibly, and that's why, as you say, you had to go through so many stages, so many interviews to get there, because Disney will only take the best. They only want people who are going to up the brand and just make everything work. And as a result, you then get treated, I won't say like royalty, I mean like royalty, because clearly you were. But it's a case of they are top of the game for a reason, and likewise they will then look after those involved as well. So
absolutely.
So I was going to ask, is there a favourite client you've worked for? But I think it's kind of a null and void question after hearing.
I would say, to be honest, they during such an awful time, they did us proud, and you know, I hope we did the same for them. And so actually, you know, I would say that they did look after us really, really well. So it probably would be Disney, definitely.
I'm gonna spin it on his head now, because I mean, obviously that was, you know, you work for the best because you are obviously the top of your tree, and that was a great situation out of a, you know, possible disaster. Has there ever been an occasion, and this is a rude question, where something has gone disastrously wrong? I mean, I did a job many years ago. And the makeup artist coloured my hair. She sprayed this colour in my hair, coming back, and
this must have been a while ago, because you're suggesting you had a full head of hair, Drew.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, I had hair, and it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't dark enough. Could you believe? So she combed colour into my hair, and we went under the lights, and during the day, my hair's changed colour. It went from sort of black to a sort of green color, and then sort of mustard color. It's just slowly, and so because the cameraman and you know, we're going, could you just, you know, have a look at Andrew's hair? So the more of this stuff she put in to cover up the fact that it was changing color, and then I ended up at the end of the day with mustard colored hair. It was just ridiculous. I got home and showered. It was fine, but it was hysterical, because every now and again I go, okay, can we check lights, sound, Andrew's hair? Just becoming. So, I mean, I know that was, you know, but have you ever had anything, I mean, you know, at any time that has gone disastrously wrong?
Okay.
Open the door, make us.
I mean, I would, this is almost an exclusive, because there's only a few people that know about this, because I don't really want too many people to know.
We love an exclusive on Drewling Samantics. So please, go for it.
Go.
And I can assure you, this was the first show that I was ever doing on my own plot on Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And there is a particular part of the show where there is a scene where certain actors run towards me, and I basically, my only job at this, and there was a lot of quick changes, there was a lots of more in-depth things that I had to do within the show, but this is just the quickest change ever. And all I had to do was plop a wig onto, not even anybody with hair, he didn't even have hair, this particular actor, just put a wig on his head for the OAP scene that is within Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And then they run back on stage, and then they're all like old people in it, they're all going crazy within the show. Okay, so that's all I had to do, was just put a wig on this gentleman's head and let him run back out. I put it on upside down. Wig was upside down. Now I was fortunate because it was kind of like an afro type wig, so the hair was kind of like all over the place. It wasn't like there wasn't a particular like parting, or there wasn't any lace or anything like that. But the thing is, this is how quick the quick change was. He would run out and turn around, and I would put the wig straight over his head, and then he would run back onto stage again. It was seconds, literally seconds.
Yeah.
So I had to think, right, okay, so he's going to run towards me, he's going to turn around. But I had the wig in my hand as if he hadn't turned round. So the label was at the bottom, but that ended up here. And he ran out on stage with the wig upside down on his head. I was obviously mortified. It was my first time on my own with my own plot on one of the biggest shows in the West End. And at that particular point, I allowed him to go out with his wig upside down. And because he was such a gentleman, and because he's just a lovely guy, he literally just said to me, "Oh, just so you know, I didn't realise, but that the wig," he said, "it was upside down." He said, "Don't make it easy." He goes, "Oh, no one would have noticed." He said, "I didn't even notice till I took it off." And I thought, what a nice guy. But inside, I was so embarrassed.
Oh, bless you.
And then obviously everybody knows that you've just started this new gig, and they're like, "Oh, how's it going? How's it going?" And especially on your first day, I've got a lot of supportive friends and family, and they message me and say, like, "How was your first day?" And a majority of them, I was like, "Oh yeah, it was great, blah, blah, blah." But you just can't lie to your mum. So straight away, she said to me, "How was your first day?" I was like, "Mum, I put a wig upside down on a guy's head." He ran out, the biggest show in the West End at that particular point. I said, "We'll wig upside down on his head." And she was like, "That's okay, darling. You'll be fine next time." All the support. But I was just mortified, absolutely mortified. And I don't actually remember the head of department even knowing that had happened. I think it was just a quiet word. So it was amended immediately, and I never put that wig on upside down ever again.
Ever.
Because I just knew. But yeah, accidents happen. It's just sort of the way that you come about it, I think, afterwards. But yeah.
Brilliant. But it's all part of the story, isn't it? It's all part of that learning and going through and progression in a career. Everyone makes mistakes and everyone learns things as you go. And I think it'd be quite a boring industry if we didn't have random stories and things to tell. And ways of learning.
When you're working on definitely theatre production, you quite often have such good fun backstage that we've been messing about. The wig station was always where the party was at, because I'd always bring sweets in and all sorts, and everybody would be hanging out where I am, and they're having their like wigs changed and whatever, and we'd be chatting. And the amount of times that people would go, "That's my cue," and they're backstage at the wig desk, they're not even side of stage, and they're running to get onto the stage. It happens all the time, and as far as the audience are concerned, they don't really notice anything like that happening. And as long as you're out there when you need to be out there. But yeah, sometimes I think you do have a little bit too much fun backstage that you forget really what you're there for.
It's always, we're lucky to be in this industry where we can have a bit of fun with it as well. So,
yeah, that's nice. If you can't laugh, but it's always a makeup truck when you're filming. You think, I'm going to go over to makeup, because they have the Haribo, they have the cakes. There's always a television on in there. Nowhere else to go. Just gonna nip to makeup, and you're gonna hide out there. And like 7 when everybody else is setting up in the morning, makeup are always there at the crack of dawn.
Yeah.
And you go in there, and they're always smiling, always friendly. You think, how on earth do you do this? Because everyone else is bloody miserable, and you're.
I think you just summed that up by saying Haribo. To be honest, I think that's how a lot of us get through the day. To be quite honest with you. Just feed us tea and coffee throughout the day, and anything sweet bring to the desk, and we'll be there for you. Not a problem.
Yeah. It's one of it. It's because it is one of those skills that, like Sam was saying at the beginning, we don't notice the skill. People don't see the skill. I mean, we're famous in this country for, you know, our costume dramas. And certainly, I mean, like they're like Thoroughly Modern Millie. I mean, the period stuff on that show. If you see it, you go, oh, there's been a makeup artist behind this. But if you don't see it, it's like everything else. You know, that like we had, we had someone from the stunt world on, and they were saying if it goes well, you just go, Christ, that was great. You know, and if you look at your work on stage, you go, you know, that looks amazing, but you literally don't see the joints unless the wig's on upside down. But I mean, you know, that is that rewarding in itself that people don't comment on the work, or do you sometimes go, yeah, I wouldn't mind someone coming up and saying occasionally, that's great.
I think sometimes you, in your head, you know, you're your own worst enemy because you do critique your work all the time. But actually, I think, so another show that I took part in a couple of years ago was Shrek the Musical. And I think sometimes when a show like that, there's so many children within the audience as well. And the curtain goes up and you know, the first time that they see Shrek, or the first time they see Fiona or Lord Farquaad especially, hearing that sort of audience reaction and people cheering and people laughing and people having fun, that's almost enough for me, to be honest with you, because I know that don't get me wrong, 99% of that cheer is because of that actor or the actress who have gone out on stage and they're performing, but you know, they're only as good as they look sometimes as well, you know, and you know that you're part of that. So you know, that, I mean, just hearing that sort of response from the audience quite often is enough for me to feel like quite good about what I've done and been part of.
There's a very famous, I'm not going to mention the actress, but there's a story of an actress in the West End. I think it was in the West End or Broadway. She was on a big show, big star, and was a pain in the arse to everybody involved, and would go out in the show every night and get this wonderful round of applause on her entrance because everybody loved who she was. But one night she walked out and there was nothing apart from sort of giggles and titters. And she walked off, and then this huge burst, you know, laughter. She walked up into the wings, and she'd been such a cow to the backstage and the crew and makeup that no one told her that her dress was tucked in her knickers. So they let her walk out. I know. Then that just goes to show, don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Not at all. I mean, I think I've been really, really fortunate with the people that I work with. And sometimes, you know, you get told that there'd be certain celebrities that you might be working with and you think, oh yeah, I know what they're going to be like. And actually when they turn up, they completely surprise you. And if anyone's a cow, you're a cow for judging them in the first place. You think, like that. I've just been really, really fortunate with everybody that I've worked with, especially I think more so when you're on tour, because you're living in each other's pockets basically. And the people that you work with are the people that you're going to have your breakfast, your lunch and your dinner with. They're also the people that at the end of the day, when you're feeling tired and you just want to go out for a sociable drink after work, they're the people you're going to be with. You're with them all the time. So actually, maybe some people don't like you, but you know what? It makes it easier to be friends with everybody when you're on tour, because you're with them or not. And sometimes on tours, you know, they're over a year out, you know, a year long. They can be longer than that. They can be like a 2-year tour. So you don't have much choice really. But I've been on tours that have only lasted 6 months, and I've become so close with some of the people that I work with. Just because I think you're just with them all the time. So it is nice if you can be with the right people. Because it makes your job a lot easier as well.
A lot easier, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, Drew and I have worked together.
Always have sweets as a form of bribery as well. I mean, I've always got sweets at my desk, you know, as a little bit of like a friendship token. You know, come to me.
Yeah. I was going to say, Drew and I worked together for many years, and we've ended up stuck with each other. So you've got to be nice to people. You never know when you'll end up with them for a long time. But so. It's been amazing chatting to you, Becky. Thank you so much for coming on. I know you've got to run because you've got the busiest diary of anyone I know, because you do everything.
I do, yeah.
To finish up with, could you please leave us, and we often ask our guests to do this, and you obviously told us the amazing story of the wig, but do you have a funny anecdote or a story, something from the industry that will live with you forever, that you can share with everyone, that's just something that we love to shock and surprise and make our guests, our viewers and listeners laugh. So have you got a funny story that kind of sums up your time in the industry?
You know, I mean, the wig thing is probably the biggest one for me that I will never forget, because it being such a big show and my first time, and it was just everything all rolled into one, and that will unfortunately stay with me forever. But really, I mean, other than that, I mean, other things that have happened in the industry that happen quite often that make me chuckle is quite often, unfortunately, there are situations where people are off sick, or as in actors or actresses that are poorly, or you have somebody that's had an accident during a show that might have like hurt themselves. And one thing that stuck with me, and I always remember it during Thoroughly Modern Millie tour, was one of our actors, he became injured whilst on the show. He stood on a microphone stand and it hit him in the face like a rake would, and cut his eyebrow open completely. Everyone was going, oh my God, oh my God. And they're sorting everything out. The curtain came down and it was like, right, we need to, you know, sort this out. And we were like working out who his cover was. And one of the guys that was stood there was going, oh, I hope he's all right, blah, blah. And I went, yeah. I said, right, let's get you ready. He said, yeah, no, I'm just checking that he's all right and everything. I said, no, we've got to get you ready. I said, you're his cover. And he went, oh my God. And honestly, the mad panic of somebody sort of said, I'm just going to make sure that this guy's all right. Not in his head, even thinking. And obviously I'm thinking, I've got to change your wig. I've got to sort out your makeup. We've got to get you on stage in like the next few minutes. The audience are all sat there thinking, what the hell's going on? And unfortunately, he's too worried about, obviously, one of the other guys within the cast, whether he's okay, that he's not even remembering. So I'm sort of doing his makeup. I've got my assistant stood next to me. She's holding on to his script, trying to get him to like sort of memorize what we've got to do. But then that is kind of like what life is backstage in the theatre world. And we're quite fortunate sometimes, I think, as well, because when you perform in theatre, especially, obviously, every show's always going to be slightly different, and it's always going to be slightly different. So when things like that happen, you can kind of get away with it. To a certain extent. So although I haven't had many challenging experiences or embarrassing stories to tell you guys, that kind of worries me, because it means that I've still got that to come.
Oh yeah.
Great.
Oh yeah.
It's something to look forward to. It's something that's going to go madly wrong, and it'll mean that we can have you back on the show in a year.
Oh yeah, and just say everything.
You know what I said last time? Yeah, completely wrong. Now I've got a list of catastrophes for you.
Oh, brilliant! Oh, good.
Brilliant. But it's been such a pleasure to have you on and chat with you, Becky. It's been a great time. And yeah, we're going to have you back. We always say as well, we never have enough time for our guests. They've always got masses to tell us. So. You know, on that note, you've got to come back and tell us more. As you said, Sam, it's got to come back. We need this. We need a ray of sunshine in this weather.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
all our viewers particularly will be so happy that they've had someone to watch, rather than two moaning old gits that just have stuff to complain about every week. So on that level purely, you've got to come back. But no, thank you so much for joining us, and have a fantastic Christmas, because we know you'll be mega busy over then as well. Yeah. So, but yes, thank you so much, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Thanks for coming on. Me. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks, care. Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. You know, sometimes, Sam, it is just a joy to just see how much someone loves what they're doing. I mean, you know, everyone, you've just had the absolute pleasure of being in the company of Becky, Rebecca Grace, and the simple joy and love she has for her work. I mean, it's so nice and so rewarding just to have that time with someone who loves their business and loves their work.
Real passion, genuine passion for what she does, and the fact that she is now giving that back in the form of tuition, coaching, mentoring. Really does show that this industry is the place that people fall in love and end up being absolutely content and loving what they do. And she's a perfect example of that.
It's generosity of spirit as well, isn't it? Because it's that love for what you do, entertaining and helping people. And as you say, then giving it back in the form of coaching and mentoring and teaching. It's fully rounded generosity. It's great to see. Lovely stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, she has some wonderful stories, but I mean, there was even more we chatted about, before we recorded.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and something we should mention actually, because she mentioned right at the beginning, quite early on in the chat about they always say don't work with children and animals. And for our more observant listeners and viewers, you may have noticed there were some noises going on in the background. Now, don't worry, it wasn't Drew having a moment or a microphone playing up. Becky has a gorgeous little pug called Marcel, and he very much wanted to be involved. But he had to make do with being content playing with a chew toy, I think. So if you're wondering what some of the weird noises were, don't worry, it wasn't one of us having a moment. No, Marcel was in the background. But,
he was in the background.
Actually, mentioning animals, Becky told us an amazing story off screen, off recording, about one of her main duties for Disney. And I know you're a huge fan, so I'll let you fill in this one.
It was one day of the week is given over on the Disney ship to Star Wars.
Yeah.
And one of Becky's duties was to groom Chewbacca.
Yeah.
And Stan, she said to me, she had to stand on a stool because he was so tall, and give him a bit of a brush down and groom him down, and then send him off to go and see his adoring.
How do you? And she said it just. How do you put that on a CV? What are your previous jobs? Well, I was a Chewbacca groomer. Like what a and the other one, she was saying she used to airbrush the genie. I mean, have those words ever been put in one sentence before?
I don't think so, mate.
I'll be back in a minute. I've just got to go and airbrush a genie. Mental. But just some incredible stories. A brilliant guest to have on. So thank you so much, Becky, for joining us. And as usual, mate, we come to a point where we go, well, we've just had someone amazing on chatting about some incredible things. How the bloody hell do we follow up to it?
I honestly don't know, mate. I honestly don't know, because I mean, I've got a few things coming up this week that pale into insignificant compared to airbrushing a genie,
Yes, or grooming a Chewbacca.
Or grooming Chewbacca, yeah.
So, but go on, what have you got coming up?
I mean, it's as I say, it's continuing. It's got getting things done before getting into the depths of Panto. But I shall be, if I don't find anything today car wise, I'll be car hunting. I'm recording the book list this week, so I've got the deadline for that, so that'll get done. And then at the end of the week, I shall be immersive theatering. I shall be doing a gig at the end of the week, or a couple of gigs at the end of the week. So yeah, looking forward to that. That's me. Are you busy, or are you going to continue chilling out in your cool hoodie?
Odds and sods again this week. I've got another review. I haven't done a review for a long time.
Cool, yes.
Sadly, the previous review I was booked in for was it last month before, never materialized because nobody had any fuel, so I wasn't able to go anywhere, sadly. But yeah, so I'm reviewing a show this week, so I've got my reviewer hat back on. And then other than that, I've got a few. I've got some shows coming up. I've got various bits coming up this week.
Yeah.
But the majority of what I'm doing at the moment, as I said earlier, is I'm just prepping now because Panto is so close and rehearsals for the musical kick in again. So just going over scripts, planning costumes and makeup and hair. So I may have to give Becky a shout and ask for some advice. I'm not sure whether she's done Panto before, actually, but I'm sure she'll have some good hints for Panto villain. So yeah, just a whole load of prep work and getting ready for what is the busiest time of year for us. So
yeah, getting locked into it. Yeah, and you say you'll be away from home for that period, won't you? So
yes, yeah. So I leave at the end of November, and because the musical runs sort of concurrently, although I will have chance to sort of pop backwards and forwards. For the majority of the time, I'm going to be away up until sort of mid-January. So it's quite an intensive period. But I'm really, really looking forward to it, obviously. It's just, we've said before, but you can't really not have a great time doing panto. It's just a great laugh. So.
Now, did you? And on that note, just a little thing before we leave. Did you notice? Or did you hear the? I think it was on one of the breakfast television programs that a gentleman was slightly concerned about pantomime and that there should be warnings about the content of the pantomime. I didn't see the interview. This is secondhand. So, but apparently there should be sort of, I don't know, parental or content warnings, I think, as to what it is. So there may be things that would shock or disturb children or be contentious. Well, yeah, I know. I can see the look on your face, Sam, and anybody who's listening who can't see Sam's face at this precise moment, his jaw has just hit the floor. I was the same, but apparently this is a thing. Someone was concerned that people might be upset or children disturbed by pantomime. So maybe there should be warnings beforehand or something in the program or whatever.
I mean, I would have a response to that, but we do try and keep these clean as we. If you need warnings on panto, what has the world really come to?
Well, I have to say, I do. I mean, obviously, people are entitled to their opinion. He's entitled to his opinion. I think he's crazy.
Yeah.
But ridiculous as it is, my concern is that there may come a time when a content warning is necessary. I mean, a show that children, adults, people should see, or is a great show, and you have to put a warning or some little content warning. These aren't going to be taken seriously, and you know it would be a shame to have a show marred because you can't say something or people not enjoy it, when in fact all you've done is clock up the fact there's going to be a nasty man dressed as a big rat shouting at people who is ridiculous and gets debunked at the end anyway, you know. So I was shocked and just highly amused by this gentleman.
I think it's disappointing more than anything else that people feel they need to kind of over egg the pudding, shall we say.
Yeah.
Yes, we need to be careful. Yes, we need to be aware of different beliefs, different choices, different life directions. But at the end of the day, panto is the most wholesome, family, harmless thing you can have on a stage. So do you know what? Yeah. Stop being a dick and go out and enjoy it.
Well, I have to say, mate, I totally agree with you. I mean, you know, let's just hope he can appreciate it if he goes and sees a pan. Come and see mine. Come and see yours. Yeah. You know.
Or go somewhere else. Like just leave us
or don't.
Panto in peace. But anyway, enough of that. We've had an incredible show. It's been amazing to have Becky on. Fantastic insight into the side of the world of makeup and hair, and very much looking forward to future guests, and of course, mate, spending some time with you next week.
You've said it, mate. I'm looking forward to it. Brilliant stuff.
Cheers to you with your cup of tea.
Yeah.
And good luck on the car hunt. Ladies and gents at home, we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Take care, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks again for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
If you have, then please consider subscribing to our channel and you'll get notified every time a new video is released. Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app.
Please support us on other social media too. We're on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and all our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so please share with your family and friends, and we'll be eternally grateful. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.